We're so glad everybody's watching today. I'm Tom Benson, the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for the Tennessee Aquarium, and I'm joined by Marshall Johnson, who is the Chief Conservation Officer for the National Audubon Society. And Marshall, it is an honor to have you with us today.
Oh, likewise. It's so great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're talking with you because you're one of the experts that's featured in a fantastic giant screen adventure that we have at the Tennessee Aquarium IMAX 3D Theater, Wings Over Water 3D. And this is a beautiful film that takes you on the migratory path of three different species to a very special ecosystem that's kind of in your backyard in the Dakotas, right here in North America. So, Marshall, tell us a little bit about how you describe this film to others.
You know, this film, I think, can be best described with the word hope, and the type of hope that is so large and so resilient. It could only be illustrated in the migration of birds, the perilous journeys that they make over thousands of miles across the hemisphere, across our states, across our backyards and our communities. I think it's really the wonder and the hope of birds. That's how I would describe Wings Over Water.
The cinematography is just amazing, and they use some special effects to really draw you into the storyline and to really talk about some of the characteristics that birds have that people might not be aware of that help them make these amazing journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes the science of it all can be a little overwhelming, a little hard to decipher, but when you bring it to life with the graphics and the cinematography and just the keen really art that the filmmakers did here, it really works and works incredibly well. And I was really proud to be a part of it. Audubon is proud to work with Ducks Unlimited and Max McGraw to bring the film to life.
Have you seen it in 3D?
I have 7 times.
Okay. Well, we're very fortunate because we know that maybe number 8 is coming up on November 8th when you'll be right here in Chattanooga to speak to the audience after a special screening of Wings Over Water 3D. So we're going to invite everybody early to that event. And again, having just been in the theater to see this, what's really fun is to see the kids reaching out, trying to touch those birds as they're flying over. And you really get these intimate portraits of the yellow warbler, the sandhill crane, which is super popular here, especially in January with the Sandhill Crane Festival, and the mallard duck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think the filmmakers told me early on, they sent me a link to it and I could watch it on my desktop, but they said don't use it because the only way to see it really is in 3D. And I think your visitors, they will see an amazing story, or really a breathtaking story, an inspirational story that hopefully motivates them to. What I love about the prairie wetlands in particular, the concentration of the ecosystem is in my backyard, of course, but the elements of the ecosystem, the wetlands, the grasslands, and the other associated habitat can be found everywhere, including Tennessee. Wetlands, we have really precious wetlands across the entire hemisphere, across the entire country. And these birds and birds like them need those habitats. So yes, it's sort of focused on the journey back to the homeland that these birds make on an annual basis. But they need those precious string of pearls of habitat along the way, much like they find there in Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's really incredible to see the sandhill cranes when they're migrating through our area. It is one of the great migrations on the planet. This film, really talks about the massive number of birds that converge on those prairie wetlands that are featured in the film. And, if people traveled so far to go to Africa to see the Serengeti and to see these big mass migrations, it's so much easier to go to the plains to experience that same kind of majesty with these huge flocks of birds that are on the move every year.
Yeah, and there's really just nothing like it. I'm a bit of a zealot for what's
It's okay. It's okay to say bird nerd.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a bird nerd and zealot for what's in our backyard. The Serengeti is magical. There's so many incredible habitats and migratory spectacles out there. But to your point, Tom, we have a lot of those right here in our backyard.
Yeah, and this film does a great job celebrating that. You know, one of the inspirational storylines is really your career path. And I'm kind of curious how you rose to become Audubon's Chief Conservation Officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about a perilous journey. It's really been so much joy and so much love working for the Audubon Society all of my adult life. I started as a part-time community organizer with Audubon in 2009, straight out of college. And so I've been here. I thought it was a part-time 15 hours a week gig that I thought I'd do for 6 months. And I've been here 13 years now, and it's really been a joy to work in different roles here at Audubon, working with farmers and ranchers on sustainable, bird-friendly food production, working on creating nearly 40 nature parks and communities throughout the Northern Great Plains. Sort of all aspects of Audubon I've been privileged to be a part of, and it's a wonderful place to work. And so more than a wonderful place to work, it's a wonderful family. You know, the bird conservation and bird loving family is 47 million strong in the United States. And we have 600 community and campus chapters across the nation and millions of members. And so to be a part of that family that calls Teddy Roosevelt and so many amazing people, Wendell Berry from your part of the world as being members is pretty special.
Yeah. Was there a particular moment that was kind of an aha for you that really led you to Audubon? Was there a bird or birding that kind of led the way to where you are today?
Yeah, it was a prairie chicken. Here, I don't know if you have prairie chickens in your backyard, but here we have prairie chickens, and prairie chickens are not migratory species, but they're amazing birds, resident birds. And in the springtime, they have this really iconic, they call them booming leks, where the males strut and they have these haunting sounds. And they've been doing this for thousands of years to get the females' attention, who are usually draped along the periphery watching the spectacle. And you sit in these long, really low blinds and you crouch down. I'm 6'3", and so I crouched down, and I think the junior year of college. I was studying business. Didn't think that I would go into the career that I found or has found me, but it was that morning in April 2007 that it was my spark bird, my spark moment, that I wanted to explore something in bird conservation and be a part of protecting these amazing wildlife.
Well, as an amateur bird photographer, the prairie chicken is on my bucket list because they're beautiful birds. And you're exactly right. I've seen video of the courtship behavior. It's spectacular. Fans that come to see Wings Over Water are going to be really in for a treat, because there's a montage of different birds and their courtship behaviors. And again, the cinematography is spectacular. But the sandhill cranes, when you see them dancing at the Hiwassee Wildlife Refuge, it's pretty cool. But in Wings Over Water 3D, you really get some close-ups and a lot of that footage, and it's spectacular.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have a couple favorite bird species?
Birds to me, or for me, are really, I would describe them as my playlist in nature. And I spend a lot of time in nature in the prairies. And so the Frank Sinatra, the Nat King Cole, the troubadour of the prairies is the Western Meadowlark. And so I'd have to say that the Western Meadowlark would be my favorite bird. It's my door greeter to my experiences in the prairies. And I'd have to say that is certainly right up there. Sandhill cranes actually are one of my favorite birds. That haunting, majestic call and flight. And so I'd have to say those are my definitely my two favorites, right there with not just prairie chickens, but all prairie grouse, sage grouse and prairie chickens, lessers and graders and sharp-tailed grouse. That sort of uh, suite of species, I would have to say, would be right up there.
I was curious, how did you get involved with Wings Over Water? What was that phone call like when somebody said, "Hey, we'd like you to be in an IMAX film"?
You know, it went just about like that. Someone mentioned my name to someone, and I had a Susan Todd, the co-producer of the film, give me a ring. Maybe a couple months later, they were sitting at my office desk, and just until about the end of production, they actually extended production. I was just a science consultant, helping them to find places to go, and with no idea that I would actually be in the film, just helping make the film a success. And that sort of evolved over time, and I'm really grateful that it did. But was definitely under no illusions that it would.
Now, clearly, the film crew spent, at least an entire year filming there, because you see all 4 seasons in the film. But I'm wondering, were you there for all 4 seasons, or is the prairie weather in the Dakotas, like they used to say about Texas and here in Tennessee, wait a minute, it'll change? Because there's one scene where you're in the snow, and there's another scene where it looks like it's summer.
Yeah, it was filmed, I would say at least 3 filming sessions that I was a part of were in different seasons: fall, I'd say technically maybe winter, and then summer. I don't know that I was there in the spring, but yeah, we had different sessions over many months, and even maybe a year between the sessions. So yeah, our last film shoot, I want to say it was 24 degrees outside. And there wasn't a lot of snow, but the snow that day was actually blowing in. And you can see that in the film. So, yeah.
So have you added scientist, conservationist, actor to your resume now?
People keep asking me to. I think I should, right?
Describe the prairie pothole ecosystem, because it is really kind of unique, and it's a throwback to when the glaciers moved southward and then retreated.
Yeah, and that's sort of the this is a landscape and an ecosystem that has been forged through a crucible, really, of fire and ice and wind and rain, sparse as it may be, and that retreating left back these millions of depressions or wetlands across the landscape, literally millions. That it provides incredible habitat for waterfowl, invertebrate species, and a setting that is hardwired into these birds to return to every spring and summer for mating and reproduction. Some travel, it's yes, the waterfowl, but it's the shorebirds and the other migrant birds that find refuge and sort of their summer home in this part of the world. And really the thing that makes it special are the grasslands and those remnants of the glaciers that retreated or melted, so long ago.
Watchable wildlife, you touched upon this earlier. We are very fortunate to have partnered with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency to present this film locally here at the Tennessee Aquarium IMAX 3D Theater. And the numbers are staggering. You said 47 million bird watchers, but the whole number, 86 million people, recognize themselves as wildlife watchers. Bird watchers alone spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.8 billion on equipment. So that could be the hiking shoes, that could be the binoculars, the lenses, the memory cards for their digital cameras. And, people like me spend a lot on bird food. And I think the number that I've seen most recently, Americans spend about $4 billion on bird seed. So, it's a great thing, and there's a lot of people involved. So I think there's a lot of people that are going to love this film. And I think that you made a very salient point in the film by saying everybody can be a citizen scientist by getting out and watching wildlife and using your phone, using those apps that are available.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether It's the Audubon Bird app, the Merlin app, eBird. There's so many great tools. Some folks say, put down the phone and get outside. I say, grab the phone and get outside. There's so many ways where technology for people of all ages acts as such a great resource. I have a app called Picture This, and when I'm out, you take a picture of a plant and it can give you all the information on a plant that I may not know or I may know, and I want to make sure that my idea is correct. There's so many ways that you can integrate technology into your experience, and I think that really brings along younger people that have grown up with the technology age, and it's a great resource and supplemental support to help you become a better naturalist.
So what impact do you hope this film has on audiences, particularly kids?
One of the things that we have a lot of birds and a lot of habitat and a lot of farming and ranching in the Northern Great Plains and within the prairie wetland ecosystem. We don't have a lot of people. And so when you think about this bird nursery, one of the great, if not the great bird nursery in the lower 48, there are probably 4 cities in Tennessee that have more population than North Dakota, right? So this vast state, we don't have a lot of people, and therefore people forget how special this landscape is and this ecosystem is. I think the number one thing that you can't sit for the 45, 50 minutes and not come away with, regardless of your age, is a deepened, maybe newfound appreciation for the prairie wetland ecosystem, and maybe even a unique opportunity for you as an individual, no matter what your age is, to be a part of saving it.
And I think it's so important to connect kids to nature in a meaningful way, to use a film like this as an entry point, to get them excited about nature and then take the next step and take them outside and spend time with them outdoors. To wrap things up here, sometimes the environmental news gets really heavy, and what brings you hope? What gives you hope for the future?
What gives me hope for the future is my various roles bring me into contact with people from all walks of life, Tom. And what brings me hope for the future are really 2 things. Number one, the joy, the excitement people have for making a difference for birds. And today, the technology and resources that we have to find the most important places, such as Audubon's Migratory Bird Initiative and our Explorer, finding the places that birds need to survive and thrive, that need our help. Those 2 things, the people and their passion, and the technology that is unprecedented and at our fingertips, that can drive change.
And in Wings Over Water, you see how technology is being used. And I think that gives me hope, because I think it's exciting for kids to see that science can be fun, science can be rewarding. And, scientists can kind of be rock stars like yourself and, get other people excited and involved in conservation work, and have, really a lot of joy in seeing things protected for future generations. So thank you so much for taking the time. We're really looking forward to your visit coming up on November 8th. You'll be here at the Tennessee Aquarium IMAX 3D Theater for a couple of special screenings. We're going to try to get some students into the theater in the morning, and then in the evening, we'll have a special presentation with you, and we'll have all those details on our website soon. So one thing else that gives me hope is at the end of the screening today, as I was sitting in the theater, the audience applauded the film. And for a nature documentary to have folks applauding that was just really special. So I think that this is a big hit, and it's a beautiful film, and I hope everybody comes out to see it. And Marshall, thank you again. We look forward to seeing you on November 8th.
Absolutely. Thank you.
From the heartland of North America comes the story of a hidden paradise. Discover a wetland oasis vital to millions of birds. Fly alongside the epic migrations of these remarkable creatures as they return home to raise the next generation.
Is this real life or make-believe? You are the wind underneath my wings. You got me higher than I've ever been. When I'm with you, I'm flying. When I'm with you, I'm flying.
Meet the diverse wildlife that all play a part in this bountiful ecosystem.
When I'm with you, I'm flying. When I'm with you, I'm flying.
And join the inspiring people working to protect it.
When I'm with you, I'm flying.
Soar across the prairie wetlands and learn why we all need wide open spaces to spread our wings.
When I'm with you, I'm flying.
Narrated by me, Michael Keaton. Now playing